you take it over to Chicago. Chicago's been kind of fun to watch here as of late on the offensive side of the ball. We'll see where it goes. On defense, like I said, they play man-to-man almost every play. So, it's either a good thing or a bad thing happens. And then, on the offensive side of the ball, Bagent's fun. I mean, you got to say that. Now, we'll see him. He'll stand in the pocket with people around him and his size and make some throws. He's a very good athlete, as we're seeing. Ran the ball awesome last week with scrambles and quarterback design runs. So we'll see where that goes. Their offensive line's not bad. They can run the ball. We know that. And this is a Carolina defense that is awesome at pass defense, has a little issues with the run game. So we'll see. Can Chicago push them around, move them around? And then if they do, they might open up the field. And they do have some weapons on the offensive side of the ball right now. Cole Kmet is coming up the train tracks as one of the best tight ends in football. All right. We talked about DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a superstar that if he was on a really good team, we'd be going, is he one of the 3 best receivers in football? And Darnell Mooney, who looks like he's got all his explosion back after his ACL last year, he's starting to look like the guy we know he can be. So, we might see some exciting plays and some good offense tonight, nonetheless, with some of these young guys. Yeah, it's kind of a meaningless game, but these are 2 organizations that are trying to build something for the future, and I still think that's what's going to lead to the urgency of them wanting to win tonight and look good and, make sure the media and their own fan base doesn't have something to jump on even more, to put them down, and I think that's going to lead to the intrigue of the game tonight.
Yeah, so look, I think we've spent a solid 50 minutes talking about a game that on the surface you look at it and say, I wonder if Al Michaels is even going to show up. Al, there's reason to be there. It's football. It's on TV. It's Tyson Bagent, West Virginia's own, who is 6'3". It's Bryce Young, and it's a couple of teams that could have had C.J. Stroud but don't, and it's one of the reasons why one is 1-7 and the other is 2-7.
Well, last thing.
Picks for that game.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say last thing too. Like, where do you think the Bears are with Justin Fields? Like, where are they? Right? I still think a lot of people in football are like, is he the quarterback of the future? I felt like he was kind of solidifying himself as that a little bit and finally showing us all like, hey, look at these throws, putting up some, points and yards in the pass game, right? But like, what's your pasta and meatballs say about the assessment of where the Bears are with Justin Fields? They have 2 very high picks coming up in the draft because of their own record and Carolina's pick, right? To where they could certainly get a quarterback. It's a weird one that I don't really have a feel for right now as we sit here going into Week 10.
Well, and any time now we see a guy who's injured midway through the season and he's able to come back, there's a level of sensitivity to the Derek Carr phenomenon that we saw last year when the Raiders put him in bubble wrap the last 2 weeks of the season, because there was an injury guarantee that was going to be fully vested, $40 million right after the Super Bowl. That's not a concern with Justin Fields. He has 1 year left on his rookie contract after this season. It's already fully guaranteed. The decision they have to make is in May whether or not they're going to pick up the 5th-year option. If he's even there then, they could trade him right after the season to someone, to anyone, and that would be the indication that they are going to go quarterback in the draft. Now, would they hold him to try to create the ruse that we're not taking a quarterback in the event they don't control the board? That's part of it as well. Hold him and trade him right after the draft, trade him during the draft, trade him after you get the guy you want. And then meanwhile, you've got Tyson Bagent in your back pocket. So I thought that they should hold Justin Fields for this year because he showed enough last year that let's see what he can do in his 3rd season. And let his 3rd season be the up or out year. And whatever the reasons, nobody's fault, got injured, couldn't play, unless he comes back and he's spectacular down the stretch, running and passing.
Yeah.
You move on. You just move on. It's one of the great things about the rookie wage scale for teams. You can get it wrong with a quarterback taken high in the draft, and it doesn't cripple you financially like it used to. You just move on. We got Tyson Bagent. We've got 2 high picks. We're just going to move on. But then the challenge becomes, when do you pull the trigger in relation to tipping your hand about what you're planning to do
That's right.
in the draft?
Right.
That's the key. But if they have picks if they have the first pick, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they got
so
picks
they
2
can
and
trade
3
him
right
before
now.
the draft if they have the first pick.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I know it's interesting.
But I think they're going to be done with him after this year.
You do.
The current regime didn't draft him.
I know.
Current regime didn't draft him.
Right.
And the guy currently in charge of the team didn't hire the GM and the coach that's there. There's a lot of dust that needs to settle after this season. Kevin Warren could say to Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, that's it. We're moving on. So you get an entirely new regime that comes in and makes these decisions instead of the guys who are currently there.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of things to think about there in Chicago. I would hope they don't change the regime. You know, again, it would, to me, you look at it and go, how was the regime supposed to be all that successful here? I mean, they obviously, weren't putting their best foot forward last year, right? We know that. Remember, had all the money they didn't spend and the salary cap left over here. So I don't think they've really given Poles or Eberflus a chance to show what they have with the current status of their football team here. I would think they get one more year. The quarterback thing is going to be very interesting. It definitely is. And I, like you, I got a feeling it feels like they're going to move along from Justin Fields, but I don't know that. And we'll see where it all goes as this plays out. Because like we talked about earlier in the show, it'll reveal itself here at the end of the season and how he plays when he gets back on the field. And, that'll have a big say in it.
As I always say, there's 3 types of teams in the NFL. Number 1, the teams that have franchise quarterbacks. Number 2, the teams that desperately are looking for franchise quarterbacks. And number 3, the teams that have a quarterback and they're not quite sure whether or not he's going to be a franchise quarterback. The Bears, I think, this year are moving from Category 3 to Category 2. I think that's where this is going, and they're trying to get, as every team is, to Category 1. Somehow, even though the 2 teams have a combined 3 wins, we managed to go nearly an hour talking about tonight's game.
Yeah. I'm proud.
Hopefully the game will live up to the hype. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.